I just woke up. Full disclosure. Full disclosure, I just woke up. Okay. I don't know where I am or what's going on.
Okay. Fair enough. I fully expected that. I was trying. So transparency, trying to set up two different interviews with your people today, and then that first one dropped out, and I mistook that first one's time for your time. So I said, let's do that time, and then and now we're here. So it was supposed to be 3 hours later, but it ended up being 3 hours earlier. So it's my apologies. I take full responsibility.
That is okay. I will curse your name when I'm really tired later.
No. Please do. Please do. Do you live in the LA West Side?
Yeah.
Okay.
I live in LA. I actually live in South Central Los Angeles. Because
please tell me about your experience in South Central Los Angeles.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay. I love it. I live literally 5 blocks away from the Boys in the Hood house, which I did not know that the Boys in the Hood house was like a historical landmark on Google Maps. But I learned that when I was Googling my own house, and I was like, what's this historical landmark? Oh, it's the Boys in the Hood house.
That's so cool. Wait,
this
so
is
are
a
there
true
tours
story.
there?
You can Google it. You can Google map Boys in the Hood house, and it will pop up as a national landmark.
So are tours there all the time? Or?
I don't think so, because I know where it is, and it's just a private home. So maybe like some really obsessed fans will like kind of slow drive past it, but I think it's just somebody's house. So
that reminds me of like the Brady Bunch house and the Full House, I guess.
Yeah.
Like people buy those, and those probably cost what, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know how much money the houses cost, but they're millions of dollars.
Not the Boys in the Hood house yet. It's not cost millions. It doesn't cost millions of dollars yet. And I'm glad, because it's in my neighborhood, and once it starts costing millions of dollars, I'll be priced out.
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh boy. I mean, you would think once, who was the director? John Singleton. Once he died, that the house, would
and that was the house where like Lawrence Fishburne like twirled the balls, and like Trey, his son, was like living in this house. Yeah, it was like a big, like pivotal, like it was like a character in that movie.
Yeah.
And you could just drive past it. It's like in my neighborhood. Yeah. But it's really cool. Like, it's really cool. And this neighborhood is really great. Like, people don't realize, and I didn't even realize, because I hadn't spent that much time in South Central, that there's like definitely scary parts of South Central that are like the gang activity parts of South Central. But then there's like whole chunks of South Central that are like solid middle class families. Like my neighborhood is predominantly Black and Latino, and it's like older Black folks who have owned their houses for years and years and years.
Right.
And then like newer, Latino families that are like the newer people coming in, and they're like young families with kids. So it's like really safe. I walk my dog at midnight, no problem.
Okay.
In my neighborhood. And it's like, people are friendly, people are nice. I've only had one older Black woman that kind of let me know that she didn't appreciate that I had moved into her neighborhood.
Oh God, of course.
I'm walking my dog, and this like Black woman in her 50s. She wasn't even that old. I would say she's like 40s or 50s. She looks at me and she goes, "You live around here?" And I go, "Yeah, I live a couple blocks that way." And she goes, and she just walks away.
Oh no, God, no.
And I just thought it was so funny, and just like, yeah, girl, tell it. Like don't hold back.
Just muttering to it. She went home that day. It was like, I saw this Asian lady move in. Oh God.
But I've been living here for like over 2 years, and she's been the only one out of, and I walk my dog twice a day, every day. Like, so everyone in this neighborhood knows me. and they know my dog. And she's been the only one. Like everyone else is like, hey, hi, how are you doing? Like super nice, super friendly. Just like, yeah. I like the fact that I live here does not make me a hard gangsta bitch. Like I'm just like solidly middle class, kind of suburban.
You want the feeling of being suburban in the urban setting, I think.
Right.
I think that's kind of what I have here. I live in like Midtown Atlanta, but in an not up and coming, in a very popular neighborhood where it is a lot of urban and suburban, and it's great. You can walk around. I would not recommend here walking around at midnight with your dog, but people do it. People do it.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm not a small white lady, so I'm not afraid of that. But you know, it's yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much that. What does your dog like the neighborhood? Because I know this dog was according to the special, pre-pandemic
Yes.
born.
Yes,
So.
totally. My dog does like the neighborhood. There are a lot of dogs in my neighborhood, and a lot of them are like, you know, behind fences, and they're like yelling at us. They're like, rah, 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 get off my property. And my dog is, God bless my dog, he is the scariest little, insert word here for like the most disparaging scaredy cat. Like, and he's a big dog. He's a husky German Shepherd mix.
Oh, wow.
And he weighs 50 pounds, and he could not be more of a giant, like, just wuss. Like, he's just, like the other day, like right now it's kitten season. Did you know that it's kitten season right now?
I had no idea.
Okay, so kitten season is like all the stray cats get it on at the same time every year, and then all these kittens are born like exactly like in the springtime. It's like May. May is like peak kitten season. So like all these kittens, and my neighborhood is like rife with stray cats. There's just stray cats, and people here are so nice that they feed the cats. So they'll just be like on the street. There'll just be mounds of like dry cat food that people have put out to be really nice, you know, for these feral cats. Right. And so, but because they're feeding them, there's even more feral cats.
Yes.
So there's like tons of cats in my neighborhood, just stray cats. And my dog has prey drive. So if my dog sees a cat, he'll just start running. He'll never catch one, believe me. He's not an athlete. So he'll try, and then the cat will go take off, and he'll be like, oh, yeah, that's right. Run. Yeah, you run, bitch. And then, right? So he thinks he's a badass. The other day, I'm walking him, and he's like walking a little bit behind me. And there's this tiny little cat. It's not a kitten, but it's like an adolescent. So it's still small, like this big, like a small cat. And this cat is like this cat sees me, and he's like, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Like he was just like this badass cat. And so I'm like, I tell the cat, I'm like, I got a dog coming up behind me. You better run. You better run. And the cat's like, oh, I am running. The cat like gets down really low, and my dog comes running around the corner, and the cat goes, oh my gosh. And my 50-pound dog, that's like 20 times the size of this cat, goes, oh God, oh no, mommy, did you see that? That cat yelled at me. Why are you yelling? Oh God, why are you yelling? Please stop, please. And I was like, Dodger, you're embarrassing me right now. Come on, like have some backbone. like my dog's like, oh no, the cat yelled at me.
Oh my God, that is so, bless that dog's heart.
I'm like, I'm gonna revoke your dog card. Seriously, you're embarrassing me right now. This cat is a tiny cat, just fucking owned you. I'm sorry, I just cursed.
No, you can do it. Do whatever you got to.
Just owned you, bro. Come on. He's like, oh, mommy, I don't like getting yelled at.
Oh my God, I love a scaredy dog. I used to be a dog walker, and so I've dealt with a lot, like way more than I should have, like of dogs that were scared of the smallest things.
Oh.
And it's crazy. And like now I have a cat, and she
ballsy.
She's very mean. She's already had her children, and she's very mean, when she wants to show off, but then when she's not showing off, she can be the sweetest thing.
Yeah.
And like last night, there was a huge thunderstorm, lightning and everything. And she ran into my room and she wants to sleep with me. But then there's times where she like, I don't like, I will see her when I feed her. And then I have a small apartment. I don't know where she goes, but she hangs out somewhere. So I truly have no idea what's going on in her world. But
so funny.
That's the animals. Animals have their own personality. I was thinking about this the other day.
True.
It's crazy how they have their own personalities.
100%.
And if I had children, I got, God willing, I don't know what's going to happen with them because I can barely handle, looking at this cat and trying to think, what does she want? Like from me right now? Why is she meowing for the past 20 minutes and standing by her food bowl? Like it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, my dog, and my dog is like 10 years old, so he's an old man. So maybe this has something to like maybe he was like a ballsier, more courageous dog in his youth.
Yeah.
But he's literally like he'll like hide, like he literally does the thing where he's like hide, like the babies that like hide behind their mommy's skirt.
Yes.
Like the first time I walked him past a garbage truck, and the garbage truck is really loud because it's like picking up the cans, and he was like, and he like ran behind my legs. I was like, I don't know what you think I'm gonna do. Like, I'm a very petite Asian woman. Like in comparison, you're a brawny big dude, 50-pound dog, and he's like literally hiding behind my legs. Like, oh, don't let the garbage truck get me.
What happens when if someone comes to your door? I know you don't like answering your phone calls, but if someone comes to your door and knocks on your door, what happens? Because I know when my cat
will literally from his bed lift his head and then put it back down.
Okay.
Like he won't even get out of bed.
Okay.
He is the world's worst guard dog.
Makes sense.
I've had full on strangers come in this house and he has never left his bed. He's just like, oh, hey, I'm just.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, this person could have killed me. He's like, nah, I smelled them from here. They seem fine.
If I hear, if there's a knock at my door, my cat will run to the door as if she is going to meet a new friend or meet a new enemy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, no, my dog, it seems like my dog and your cat are polar opposites.
Yeah.
My dog would be like, oh, hey, hey, welcome. The money's over there.
Yeah, go get the money. Go the TV, the bed, all that stuff. Take it. Mm-hmm. Well, I figure we should talk a little bit about your special.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, Hong, first of all, great title, obviously.
Thank you.
Play on the name. That's that's. If there was an easier title to be chosen, I don't know what it is. But
I think that was like, I taped the special, and then at the end, after all the editing, they were like, oh, what should we call it? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I hadn't thought about it. And so I was like, well, Hong. Yeah, well, Hong. Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah.
And you know what? Also, I do think it's very funny. And I always, whenever I since the pandemic started, or is what it is now. I've always, and when I watch specials and then I interview people, I always ask them, did you feel compelled to do COVID-based jokes? And because you basically start out the gate with that stuff, and so it's different for everybody. So what was your process?
For me, I really I can't talk about stuff on stage that doesn't interest me. Like, I guess there's older jokes that I can kind of phone in, but for the most part, for me, I have to talk online. I have to talk on stage about stuff that's really going on in my life. There has to be that authenticity there, or it doesn't, I can't sell it. Like, I'm not that great of an actress on stage where I can be like, oh, what's the deal with commercial? Like, I don't care. If I don't care, I can't sell it on stage. And so this was when I taped my special, I talk about this in the special. It would be my first time on stage in a year. Literally, it was like the first big event after lockdown, and so I was like, the only thing that had been going on in my life was the pandemic. And so I had to talk about it because it was the freshest stuff that was going on that I was dealing with my life, that I knew universally everybody was dealing with in their lives. But also, I feel like I needed to address it because like everyone in that crowd, that had been the first time that we had congregated in a group in a year, because that event was one of the first it was the opening back up of New York City. It was the Tribeca Film Festival.
Oh.
Where my special was taped in conjunction with Tribeca Festival. And so like New York City had declared like Tribeca Fest is going to be the first, public event post lockdown. So everybody in the room was like, oh, we were all like freaked out. Like we had all been like wearing masks and holed up in our apartments just the day before. And so everyone was a little like, oh, so I felt like I had to address it. That's why I came out the gate with it. Cause it was like, oh, we're here.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
That's your first big event. How did it feel like getting back on stage? I mean, obviously you probably went out and, did smaller stuff, but
I did,
yeah. That you must have been nervous. Like you were just
so nervous.
Okay.
So nervous.
Wow.
Yeah. Because, when you're doing stand-up for a long time, it never leaves you. Like it's always like riding a bike, like they say. You get back on and you just know how to do it. But the first time you get back on the bike after a couple of years, it's wobbly, right? It's not like you jump on the bike and you're suddenly like Tour de Francing. Like you get back on the bike after a year or 2 years and you're like, okay, I got it. So there's that first moment of wobbliness. So that's how I felt. I felt like I was getting back on the bike like a little wobbly because I literally hadn't been on stage. Like during the pandemic, I had done stand-up shows, like a few shows, outdoor shows were a thing, but mostly Zoom shows, which is like in this very closet. By the way, this is my bedroom closet. I can still hang clothes, see?
Oh, wow. You did a really good job of making that booth.
See, that's my clothes rod. And then I just bought all this sound foam off of some dude on Craigslist and just applied it myself.
It looks fantastic.
Because I'm big time. Come on, I'm big time over here.
Yeah. NVR superstar.
Yeah, exactly. So it was so my taping my special was literally the first time I had been on stage, literally on a stage in front of a real live crowd in a really long time. Wow. In a big venue, and there were cameras obviously, and I'm taping my special, so I had hair and makeup, and I'm like nervous, and so it was the first time after a long time of just getting comfortable on stage. Which is why I felt like I had to address it out the gate at my special. Just be like, hey, this is going to be a miracle or a shit show.
Yeah, right. One thing I really did appreciate about the special is, talking about the attacks on Asian Americans and Asians around the world. It's, often I've mentioned this before, not to you, obviously, but it's like, too often the world is, it's thinking of black versus white or black and white, and we never really talk about the other, probably dozens or hundreds or so of nationalities out there. And especially, coming up with Stop AAPI Hate for the past 2 years now has just been like, seeing it come to the forefront has been very important and very enlightening. And I like that you used your platform to talk about it, to joke about it, but also to mention how difficult it has been for someone who, you're not even Chinese. So it's crazy that everything is like lumped into one thing, and then you're part of the problem.
I mean, I felt like I had to address it because I have elderly Asian parents who are vulnerable. My dad was attacked in a supermarket parking lot. It was a completely random attack, so one can only assume it was racially motivated. This guy he full force pushed a shopping cart at my dad with all of his might, and it rolled over my dad's foot. My dad said it came at him with such force that had it hit him, it might have broken his hip. like it might have broken like a bone. But he stepped out of the way at the last minute and rolled over his toe, and he had like a black toe for a month. So like he was physically injured in a random anti-Asian attack, and I had to talk about that stuff. My parents are lovely people in their 70s. That's the other thing, is the thing that's so enraging is like, I haven't had an anti-Asian attack. You know, like people that I know, younger people that I know haven't been victims of it. And it's so cowardly. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, so you decided that you're going to be racist against this group of people. So you're going to pick the most vulnerable, old, frail, often women, you know what I mean, are the ones that are getting that. They're not stepping to like big Asian men, you know what I mean? They're not stepping to like 30-year-old like Asian men or 20-year-old Asian men. They're like picking off the most vulnerable people. It's so cowardly, you know, because had that supermarket attack that happened to my dad happened to me, you know, that shit would have gone down.
Right.
Like I would have been like, excuse me, like I would have been like in this person's face. And, you know, my dad being my dad, and he was like, I didn't want to get into it, and I don't speak English that well, you know. So it's enraging. It's enraging. And so I felt like I had to address it because it's so wrong and it's so misguided. And like I said, it's like, sure, there was this collective paranoia and anger against China because, you know, there was the rumor that China invented the virus.
Right.
Or that, you know, or that the virus came from China, which who knows, maybe it did. But like, then why are you attacking Korean people in Boston? That's where my parents are. Like, why are you attacking random old Korean people? Like, if you're like, I hate China, the Chinese government invented this virus. Like, even if you believe that, which is all rumors and speculation.
Yeah.
Why are you attacking random like Vietnamese elders or Korean elders, or like, we had nothing to do with it. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, so that's all, like, it's all really sad. I understand, you know, the pandemic really hit people hard, and it's sort of like it was like the last straw for a lot of people that are right on the edge of society, which, you know, our country has a lot of problems. There's a lot of people on the edge of society. Like, there's inflation, the price of everything is going up, rent is going up, people are getting kicked out of their homes, there's no mental health programs, you know, not enough mental health programs to help people, there's drug addiction, like a lot of people are falling off the edge. So I get that. I get the inclination that so many people are falling off the edge that there's collective anger, but direct your anger to where it should be directed. Don't direct your anger at like random senior citizens in the streets. Like, that's not A, gonna fix the problem, and B, gonna alleviate your anger.
Yeah. I mean, and then what happens to you after you do that? Like, you know, now you're going to, you know, probably lose your job or go to jail because you decided to be stupid and be callous and careless and attack somebody who didn't deserve it. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling, and you know, I hope we can get to a point where we don't have to, you know, have hashtags and have these talks, because we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to. It shouldn't take all of this for, you know, for peace or anything close to it. It really sucks. But your special is great.
Thank you.
I don't know how to get out of it.
And it is funny. It is like there is like a little bit of a PSA moment in the very middle about the Asian hate, you know, the Asian attacks, but otherwise it's very funny, and I feel like I turned it around, you know, from the very short little serious moment in the middle to like, yeah, all right, now back to jokes.
Yes.
Let's get back to jokes.
You do a good job of doing that.
Thank you.
And, you know, but I think it also, your ability to do that also comes from, and I don't know if you ever hosted anything. I know you've acted, because I've seen you in, you know, the Thundermans. I'm not a child, but I have seen I've seen children's shows, and then like also the Unicorn, which is where I saw you prominently most. But uh, but doing things for, NPR, like Wait, Don't Tell Me,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you're able to, you and other panelists and Peter Sagal are able to work with the week's, a lot of the
yeah,
times more recently, horrible news for the past
yeah,
couple of years, especially,
yeah,
and make it funny or make light of it or just discuss it in general. And
yeah.
I think that really helped that part of the special where you had to talk about
Thank
the
you.
attacks on the Asian people,
Thank you.
and what came of it.
Yeah, I mean it's been harder and harder to do Wait, Don't Tell Me. I've been doing Wait, Don't Tell Me for 6 or 7 years, and it's been just getting harder and harder because the news is just getting worse and worse. Like, how do you even make jokes about the stuff that's going on now? It's like insane, right? Like, there's obviously no way you can make jokes about school shootings or mass shootings. Like, you just can't do it. And so, to Wait, Don't Tell Me's credit, they just don't address the most horrible headlines like that. But then the lesser horrible headlines, we definitely do make light of it and spin it and make jokes and make fun of it. And we try to like tease out the funny bits of like the horrible news. And I feel like that's something that we've had to do collectively as a country and as a society and as a world, because so many horrible things are happening in the world right now. It's like we have to laugh about stuff. I think maybe this is part of the reason why stand up is so popular now, is the world is such a horrible place that we need some escapism. We need to laugh about it. We need to hear a perspective that makes us laugh about it, because
Right.
otherwise we would just all be crying all the time.
Yeah. And but sometimes I think that perspective can be a little bit too powerful, and for some comedians who shall remain nameless, it overtakes them, and it overtakes the people who enjoy them and everything. So
Yeah,
I tend
yeah,
to I tend to stick to comedians about a level and below. Just
yeah,
I don't want to watch somebody who can sell out a stadium and host SNL,
yeah.
and they just have kind of a toxic personality.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good rule of thumb.
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah, Emily, now I wonder this: do you watch any stand up at all? Because I know some comedians, they want to stay away from it, but I know others, they tend to dip in and out and find who they like a lot.
Yeah, I'm the dip in and out person. Like, I will rarely watch a full special by someone, but I'll watch little clips of some of comics and just go, oh, that's really good, or oh, that's really funny, just to see like what they're doing and what they're tackling and how they approach things. Um, and yeah, it's hard for me to watch a whole special for anyone, because it's, to me it's kind of like work,
Mhm.
like stand up is my business, and so I don't want to do watch stand up on my downtime.
Mhm.
um I probably should watch a little bit more comedy specials, but I don't. And I do watch like little clips and get enough to get a sense of what people are doing, what people are talking about, and how people are approaching things. Yeah, yeah,
I think that's a good way to do it,
yeah,
because I watch a lot of late night. I basically watch everybody because I want to see who's doing well and who's improving or whatever. But
yeah,
uh, just top of this week, both I think Seth Meyers' show and Jimmy Kimmel's show, they both had the same joke about the Queen's Jubilee from the past weekend, literally exact same joke, and that happens
yeah,
all the time. And it's
yeah.
not like they're being influenced by the
No,
person. It's just
it's called parallel thinking. It's
yeah,
actually very common in stand up, parallel thinking, especially if you're doing jokes about current events.
mhm,
There's just no way to get around it, because there are going to be only so many jokes about the Queen's Jubilee. You
yeah,
know what I mean? There's only so many ways you can approach it, and so many like ways that you can make it funny. And so obviously, if you're trying to make a joke about the Queen's Jubilee, a lot of people are going to come up with the same stuff because
exactly.
of parallel thinking. Like, just so nobody, it's not that anybody's cheating off of anybody. It's just like everybody, oh, this seems funny, and then another person's like, oh, this seems funny. So that's how you end up with like the same exact joke on two completely different late night shows.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's exactly how it works.
Yeah,
I do want to ask you about the YouTube channel, the Old Korean Dad Stories.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, are you going to get back to it? Because I think that's a very good utility to have.
Thank you.
It's entertaining, and you know what, you learn a lot. I know
Thank
I know it
you.
takes a lot of work because I was watching a
Takes
couple of
so
videos.
much work. Oh my God, it takes so much work. And I was like, I was doing it. I started it in the like deep pandemic time, like during lockdown time when I had nothing else going on. Like I wasn't doing stand up, I wasn't leaving the house, I wasn't doing, auditions and stuff. Like everything was like pared down, and that's when I started my dad's YouTube channel. It's called Old Korean Dad Stories and Sometimes Mom.
Mm.
And since then I've gotten super busy, which is why I've sort of like let it go a little bit. But it takes so much work. You got to hire an editor and like go over, like do a paper cut, like transcribe the interview with my dad, and like edit it all together. So that part is taking a lot of work, which is why I've sort of abandoned it a little bit. But I do need to get back to it because I have a backlog of like great raw footage that I've taken with my dad. I mean, there might be a point where I just like throw up the raw footage and just be like, hey, you guys figure it out. here's a long interview with my dad, and please enjoy it. But my dad is really entertaining. He's very charismatic, and he just has like these incredible stories. So like I recently was reminded by my dad that he's like, do you remember there was a guy that lived in our living room for a year? And I was like, what? Like when I was 8 years old, my dad had always, my parents came to this country and like they started small businesses and a bunch of different, like they owned a card store, they owned like a rotisserie chicken stand, like a bunch of random small businesses. And he's like, when I was doing the rotisserie chicken stand, there was an illegal immigrant from Korea who had been smuggled through Mexico. Like I didn't know this, that there are like people of completely different that come from different parts of the country, of the world, like different nationalities from all over the world that come through Mexico. It's not just Latin Americans or Central Americans that are come through Mexico. It's like people of all races. So this Korean man who had been smuggled into the country through Mexico was just like homeless and jobless and just kind of wandering New York City. My dad like came upon him one day and was like, all right, you can come work for me. And the guy had nothing, no place to stay. And so my parents, to their credit, let this random man live in our living room. He's like, you don't remember there was like a sheet hung in the middle of the living room and there was just a whole ass man sleeping behind this sheet? And I'm like, no. And he's like, you were 8. Like you were old enough to remember. And I'm like, I don't remember this at all. Apparently there was like a sheet that was dividing our living room and there was like a mattress on the other side and there was just a whole ass man just living on a sectioned off part of our living room. And he would come to work every day with my dad, at his rotisserie chicken shop. Mm-hmm. And then and he's like, and the guy was like such a hard worker and he did all this stuff and he went above and beyond and he worked his ass off all day. And then he came back and lived in our living room. And I was like, what? So my dad's like telling us this story and I'm like, how do I not remember a whole ass man living in our living room?
That is like no one else has that experience. That's such an interesting, like, not even the anecdote. Like, that's crazy. It's like
I know.
It's like, dude, there's your own curtain in your own head blocking out that part of the
Yes. And I'm like, what? No, I have no recollection. He's like, oh yeah, there was like a whole person for like a year.
Oh my gosh. And what happened? Did that guy go on to be someone of note?
My dad says he has no idea what happened to him because after he sold his business, they went their separate ways. And the guy, like, thankfully had saved enough money, living in our living room behind a sheet. He had saved enough money during that year to like get his own place and stuff. And then they just lost touch. And I was like, I'm so curious what happened to that person.
Yeah.
Super curious. My dad's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, we just lost touch and I have no idea where he is or how to get in touch with him. And I'm like, what? I'm so curious. That's so crazy. So crazy. There's so much more to that story. I should just put up the raw video for that story because it's like 30 minutes of raw video, but it's everything he says. I'm like, wait, what? Mm-hmm. Like every detail, the guy had come, like, his wife was back in Korea and he was sending her money and he sent her threatening letters. like if you spend this money on anything other than like buying us a house, I'm gonna come back to Korea and kill you. Like all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, wait, what? Like every detail that my dad said was more and more bonkers. And I'm just like holding the camera like, what? What? Like you could just hear me behind the camera being like, wait, what? Like it was just so mind-boggling. So I should just like put up that raw video because it was so entertaining. It was really entertaining.
You know what? Also, forgive me for trying to push something on you, but a book too. That would be such a good book.
Yeah.
A good essay in a book, along with like the since you're already transcribing the interviews, along with the written text.
Yeah. Good call. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Like if you go like any other press you do, if you do press, well, hopefully you do press bigger than me because I'm nobody. But
oh no, don't give come on, give yourself more credit. You've got a lovely apartment with a cat.
Yes, I do. Yeah, it's great. She just flicked me off. I don't know why, but
what?
No, I'm kidding. But like you got that's your anecdote. That's the thing you got to go on and be like,
yeah.
And then because then that guy might be watching TV and then he's like, oh, hey, hello,
I was the whole ass man.
but he's like 60 years old and he's riddled with bone problems. I don't know why I went that far. Helen, this has been fantastic. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but Well Hong was well done. And
I like what you did there.
Yeah, I work in TV, so I have to be at least a little bit creative. Yeah, this has been a treat. I've been hearing your voice on Wait, Don't Tell Me for years, so it's great to I never Googled what you look like. I'm kidding. No, this has been fantastic.
Thank you so much.
A true joy.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me on. Thank you for telling me about your cat.
You're very welcome. And good luck with everything. And
thank you. Well Hong, the special is Well Hong. Go watch it.
Go watch it. All right. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.